Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Environmental Social Justice. I'm your host, Wendy Nystrom, and we welcome back Ernest Ike. He is a returning guest who's been here, I believe, now 3 times, the founder of Shandoka Cycles. So welcome back, Ike.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Wendy.
Anytime. So we have had the pleasure of meeting in person. You did a road trip out west, which was super awesome, and we posted about that. But You've had so many changes in just the past, not even 12 months. So real quick, a little background on Shandoka, what you've been up to, and where you are now.
Great. Yeah. So it is. I've been thinking about the number of times that you and I have been able to talk, not just on this podcast, but in end of November, early December. I was out in California for the Micromobility America event, and it made such great sense for us to meet up in person and spend an afternoon digging into things a little bit more. Less formal than even this. That was a lot of fun to do. So I think it was probably about 3 years ago when we first started talking, and I just had kind of a plywood mock-up, our first prototype, right? The get it done type of a status. And the last time that we had the podcast together, I had that first functioning bike. In the last 5 months, a lot of things have changed for Shandoka. So we were building a shop just north of Asheville, North Carolina, right when Hurricane Helene decided to make its interesting and historic path into the North Carolina mountains. That left us really wondering what the next choices were going to be for Shandoka. It really devastated not just the physical space that's up there, but it changed the business, just the business feel and the cultural feel of what was in the mountains. So by necessity, a lot of things had to go into just a recovery and a survival mode up there. So it left Shandoka, it left us kind of just searching around for where is the best place to take these next steps. As part of that journey out to California, we met up with folks that invited us to our new location. So we're now in Detroit, Michigan. We're at this really amazing facility. It's called New Lab Detroit, and it's an extension of what was New Lab in the Brooklyn Navy Yards. They've kind of replicated and expanded and made a bigger version of that here in Detroit. As part of a larger investment by Ford family and Ford Foundation to kind of regenerate the area around the central train station here in Detroit. So it's really fabulous. Right? Yes.
That's huge.
So we're right next door to that historic tower. So we are in what was the post office sorting building, and it was a book depository before it was just abandoned. And like a lot of, I'm learning a lot about it, but like much of the city of Detroit was just kind of abandoned and let go of. And people said, I don't know. I don't know anything about that. Right.
Yeah.
So it's now been refurbished, and we're one of many mobility companies that are based here in Detroit now.
Some people know, some people don't know. I grew up outside of Detroit. So I remember going to the Grand Central train station as a little kid and taking the train out of there. We went on a trip to Canada, I believe. So I have memories of that before it got shut down. We're going back to early 80s, folks. And now that they've been refurbished and they fixed everything, I know there are tours going on. I've got to get back out to Detroit to see this. So it's amazing that you're in that vicinity. I didn't actually realize you're in the heart of it, which is so freaking amazing.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. So I'm here in our shop right now, which is in the lower level of the building, and one floor above me. So I got like my own shop space is just for what Shandoka is doing. And then one level above me, there's something like 40,000 square feet of shop space. So it's everything from wood shop, 3D printing labs, traditional metal work with CNC machines and mechanical lathes, just simple metal folding tools, or a welding shop. All of that is something that I've got access to just as the membership of Shandoka. So it gives not just me, but a lot of other startup founders that are in this prototyping stage access to a lot of advanced manufacturing, as well as people to help us learn how to use those tools. So, we're not just like set loose in the toy shop. We've got people to help guide us into the best ways to go about making our stuff as well.
Yeah, you don't want to be playing with welders until you know how to use them. Kind of an important thing to learn. So just so people fully comprehend, Shandoka Cycles, you are making electric motorcycles, not only custom, but you will help people convert a gasoline or petroleum-powered motorcycle into electric, so they don't have to go out and buy new. They can use what they have and just refurbish. Brilliant idea, because we don't want waste, and this is getting rid of that waste.
Yes, it gets down to rather than just trying to imagine this new way of doing things, we also need to embrace what is existing, what's already here. There's no reason that we should remanufacture every single motorcycle that's out there, right? This bike is perfectly good other than the noisy, smelly combustion part of it. And that's the piece that fails. Yes, the heat. It's nice in the winter, but most of the time you don't ride in the winter. You ride in the summer, and that heat can be very, very daunting. In fact, it is the heat from the engine that causes a lot of wrecks, because people get worn out. They get tired operating the machine, but you don't notice it because that fatigue sets in over time. So the added heat, plus you're wearing protective safety gear, you're out in the sun, you have the wind beating against you as you ride, you're paying attention to people that are not paying attention so that they don't run over you. All of those things coalesce. So if we can remove the heat element, if we can remove some of the fatigue, we're actually making motorcycling safer as well.
Fantastic. I mean, just cleaning up the air, cleaning up the waste, making it safer. It's a trifecta of perfection. So moving on to, what are you guys doing now? Because now you have this new lab, you have a new spaceship, all these new materials. I mean, it's kind of like you're at the diving board point of aptly taking off, because when you and I first met 3 years ago, I think, we were talking about how this can be used anywhere in the world. I mean, I was thinking Indonesia, because everyone uses a motorbike in Indonesia. This has capabilities that are widespread.
Yeah, and one of the things that's important for startup founders is to start with that really big idea that says, hey, we can do all of these different things, and then over time to carve away the excess and get down to what you can do well and what you can do with an impact that is worth the effort to get to market, right? Yes. So we have been able to see over the course of time, because I started looking at these solutions in 2010, so 15 years ago. And, for a long time, it made sense to just keep it quiet and see where is the trajectory of the industry, what solutions are going to be handled with new manufacturing, and then what solutions are really there for Shandoka to grab hold of it and make a business around. So that larger size motorcycle that we have in the United States and that you typically see in countries that are more spread out and less population density, that's where we're able to really offer a good solution. And so now what we're working on is kind of refining the manufacturing process to get our costs down on the pieces that we know that we can do well. The other thing that we're doing, that everybody is doing right now in early 2025, is saying, okay, how do we solve for the uncertainty of the marketplace? And, I don't think we need to elaborate on that. If historians are looking back on this in 50 years, they might have a different answer than we have in 3 months. But what do we do? How do we build a resilient supply chain in the face of absolute uncertainty? And so that's part of what we're doing. And then the other thing that we get to do, which is fun here at New Lab, is we can just play with ideas, right? So one of the things that, there's a safety net here, right? You can play with something. If it doesn't go quite right, no big deal. You didn't spend a lot of money trying to make it, because the tools are here.
Yeah.
So we're working on that noise making solution that we talked about a lot while we were in California, right? How do you make sound in a way that doesn't seem fake, right? You can't just play bubbles through a speaker and have people accept that. There needs to be a sound signature that says motorcycle. And how do you create that in a way that isn't fake? That's important.
And hard. I mean, I'm going to say not, you've got a challenge ahead of you, but God, this lab sounds amazing because I didn't really, when you and I were talking in the past, I think when we met up, was it last spring, something like that?
Yeah.
And you were talking about, you were playing with the idea of either Venice, California, or Detroit. And Detroit is offering you with this new labs. I had no idea the resources available to you. And the luxury of being able to just try something and say, yep, didn't work. Try something new. This one kind of works. Let's tweak it and pull it over to the next level. That's phenomenal to have that ability.
Yes.
I am so proud of you. I mean, when we first met, it was just still an idea and a prototype. And God, I got to get to Detroit. I really do. I'm not kidding. I mean, I haven't been home since late 90s.
Yeah. Well, be glad to welcome you in and give you more an in-depth tour, of course, here. Yeah. But so why don't we talk a little bit about what New Lab is and kind of how it differs from some of the other places. So there are a number of entities around the country that offer the tools to prototype or to get your business to that next level. But kind of the way that, from what I've been able to glean being here at New Lab the last few months, is there's also a focus here, not just on building that physical thing, but also in connecting you with like-minded people who would be willing to back the next level of that development, right? So you can have ideas all day, right? And you can make a paper mache version of what it is all day, but having people that can help guide you to the next level of manufacturing or of market research or design and development, those kind of the brain trust things are absolutely as important as just having tools around that you can use.
Yeah.
And so that layer of availability, that kind of solidified why Shandoka should point to Detroit and to come here.
It's the Motor City. I mean, kind of.
Yes, yes, it is. Now, I was also surprised moving here after coming from the south of the United States. You have this concern of safety on a motorcycle, right? Yep. And most of that safety is not from concern over what you know. It's concern over the people around you. And the difference that I'm finding physically is that the streets of Detroit were laid out to be friendly to driving, to make driving easy. Yeah. And a lot of other cities that I've been in, especially southern cities, never really had an intention of how to move people around effectively. Things just kind of happened. There wasn't a lot of smart planning about it. So Detroit has this interesting thing where they went bankrupt 15 years ago, and large parts of the city are just empty. So there's a lot more street than is needed, and that makes it safe to ride around because there's plenty of extra room for the cars. So that's one thing fun that I'm enjoying about Detroit. Even though it's a little chilly, you put on your safety gear, you go out and ride, and there's not a whole lot of people around.
It does get cold. I do remember those Midwestern winters, but you do have the most beautiful springs and falls imaginable.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. No, it is gorgeous.
Every place has its ups.
Everything. Yeah, we have earthquakes and fires and landslides. It's fine. We're good. But with Shandoka, so your next step, what are you guys looking, your next launch? Because I know you have a lot of things kind of in the pipeline. So what are the best ways for people to find you, visit you, maybe tour what you're doing?
Right. We're ready to build bikes for people at sort of a build order stage right now. So our goals are to get, one, to develop a system that it's easy for a trained professional to install our kit. And then the next level beyond that, probably 3 years out, is to get to the point where it's safe enough that somebody can just do it in their garage as if they were working on a regular motorcycle, right? So those are kind of like some large steps that we're trying to attain. Right now, that key is finding some people that want the one-off custom bikes, right? They're ready for an electric motorcycle. They want something that's different than what everybody might find on the marketplace out there already. Those are the types of people that we're trying to connect with. They can find us at the website or most social media, right? Shandoka Cycles. So we try to make that simple. If you're in the Midwest area or you're going to be traveling this way for business, we'd absolutely love to welcome you here into our shop, show you around. We've got a number of motorcycles you can choose from that we can modify and build for you already. So that's where we're at as a company. We're able to build things for people. Because of the interesting motorcycle rules in North America, we can build one at a time for people. So we can build one custom version of a motorcycle, and it's already street legal. It takes into advantage some rules that the motorcycle aftermarket industry put in place in the 70s during the last fuel crunch, right? So the industry itself, the motorcycling industry, knew that a lot of their membership, a lot of people in the industry survive as small businesses, as individuals doing work. Sometimes it's a side gig after their main job. They go and work and make extra money by building motorcycles. So those same rules that protect individual builders, whether they're doing gas or electric, allow Shandoka to put a product onto the market that they can build with as well. So it is, we build on the shoulders of people that came before us. If it wasn't for the independence of the motorcycle industry previously, these rules wouldn't be here that allow Shandoka to do what we're doing.
I love that. I love the fact that you're honoring the heritage of motorcyclists of the past that have really put in the hard work, because there was a stigma against motorcycle, gangs. And it's like, it's really not that anymore. I mean, I think we've evolved where, people just want to get around easily now.
Yeah. There's still very strong numbers of people that are in various clubs and organizations. Some are purely wrapped around just riding and having fun together, but others are very strong brotherhood groups. Absolutely. And from the outside, they may look like a very rough and tumble group. Maybe they seem a bit lawless, and most certainly many of them don't follow the strict letter of the law, we could say. But there's a place in society that needs that, right? There are a lot of people in our society, in our world today, that need the structure that comes from that type of a non-family brotherhood, right? Or sisterhood. And we can detour a little bit into like the mental health aspects of motorcycling, perhaps, because we haven't talked about that other times that we've done this podcast.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because that's new to me.
So when I talk to investor groups or when I'm in front of other, just kind of the initial conversations that I have, a lot of people that don't ride motorcycles, their only impression is danger, risk taking, right? And you must be crazy to get on one of those things. That type of a response. But what I've found in just my own life and friends that I've developed around motorcycling is those of us that are mechanically minded don't always fit into other groups, right? And you need a little bit of a rough around the edges conversation. You need a place where you can accidentally have a curse word or 10 that come out in a row when you bang your thumb, right? You don't have to filter everything. There are many women and men that I've had conversations with, and it is the motorcycle culture that kept them from choosing suicide, right? It is the strength of camaraderie that gives them an outlet that otherwise they wouldn't have, right? They can't go talk to a mental health professional about the things that bother them because, right, what they need is a brother or a sister in oil, right? Somebody else that can get greasy with them and solve those mechanics. And while you're in the shop, while you're doing that type of work, you're able to talk about the other things that bother you in your day-to-day life, right? You're able to approach those things. And so there is a mental health aspect to motorcycling, just the camaraderie around it. But there's also studies that show the mental focus that comes from riding a motorcycle helps people break through those barriers as well, just in a solo status, right? Your brain has to focus on what you're doing. Your brain has to eliminate the distractions and pay attention to that side road and that stop sign and this noise that's behind you and this other thing. It's all focused onto the ride. So there are mental health aspects to motorcycling that are difficult to explain to people that don't ride and don't get out into the air.
And, you know, I love the stories that you said because everyone needs their people. I am someone who's never fit in. I'm unusual. I am not to everyone's taste. I swear a lot. And that's when I found my geology buddies. We are unusual people, and we found each other, and for some reason we all work together. When you were talking about finding your family, finding your people, mental health is very important. If you can access a therapist, that's fantastic. Not everyone is comfortable walking into a room and sitting on a couch and spilling your guts. Under a clock, you have an hour, tell me everything.
Yeah, right.
So that's not good I've tried it. It's not for me either. For me, it's hanging out with my fellow rock hounds, looking at rocks, digging things up, hammering things, you know, the physical activity. And then, as you said, when you said get greasy, you just start talking about other stuff. And it starts coming out. And rather than that, someone stopping, being like, you're weird, they'll be like, oh yeah, dude, I went through the same thing. And that right there is the most important thing, is finding your people. These are the ones that went through the same crap that you did. They understand, and either they can help you get out of it, or at least they can hold your hand, either physically or mentally, as you go through it together, because that is what the group is there for. And another, you know, I have a good friend who, he's an avid cycler. Like, he takes a 2-week vacation, or maybe 1 week, every single year and just rides. And I've had people say, oh, you know, he seems so gruff and rough around the edges. Reality, he's one of the nicest people you've ever met in your life. And when you're his friend, like when you get past his wall, he's a friend for life. There is no boundary. There's just like, you need me, I'm here. And that's, I think, what people don't fully understand. So I'm so glad you shared those stories, because that is perfection.
And I think it really does help support what you're trying to do with environmental social justice as well, because many times when that combination of words first shows up, you don't automatically think muscles and tattoos and grease, right? But there are social justice aspects that are missing within that blue collar community, within that group of people that does things with their hands, right? There, especially in the political climate and the discussions today, there's a lot of conversation about how do we bring manufacturing to the United States, and do people even want those jobs? And I think that the answer is a lot more complicated than you can just put on a social media post, of course. But the answer is, yes, there are people that want those jobs, but they only want one of those jobs at a time. And so finding how to offer folks with that skill set a job that can pay them fairly and keep them involved into a profession that gives them satisfaction, right? I made 11 of those today instead of 10, and every single one of them measured out perfectly, right? That's a self-satisfaction, right? That same person is never going to find satisfaction in balancing a spreadsheet, right? They're just not. But there are people who find satisfaction in balancing a spreadsheet.
I know a lot of it.
Never work a tape measure.
Yeah.
So we have to provide that outlet for each type of person if we're really taking care of people.
And you're absolutely right. Everyone's very different. I have a friend who's a hardcore accountant, and he just loves those numbers and gets into the finite details. I can't do that. I'd lose my mind. I mean, after a while, the lines will blend, the numbers will jump, and I'm like, no, I can't. I have to physically do stuff. So, Ike, Ernest, when people want to come visit, they could come to Detroit. They can come get a tour of your facility. They can find you via Shandoka Cycles. Do you have any events maybe planned coming up, maybe in the springtime? Well, we are in spring, so maybe summertime events that Detroit, you guys have the Woodward Avenue cruise that's happening every summer. That's a big deal.
Oh yeah, there are so many great things happening in Detroit just that I can't keep up. I'm doing my best to be a new transplant and absorb as much as I can. From a bigger perspective, the next thing that we're building for is for Sturgis this year. It's 108 days from now, 106 days from now, we have a debut. We're building another custom motorcycle for a debut at Sturgis at the Steel Pony Campground. So that's our next, if people are in the bike scene, if people are planning to go to Sturgis, then they'll be able to see our next full, complete, new custom. It's something that nobody's ever seen before. We're going to be debuting that at Sturgis. Between now and then, just local events in Michigan. So we're trying to focus on building awareness in our own new backyard, our own neighborhood of Michigan. So we've got a lot of focus on that, and then the Sturgis bike.
I love that. That is so freaking cool. And Sturgis is a huge event. I mean, it's like 10,000 people or something crazy like that. It's huge.
Like 500,000. So there are something like 500,000 motorcyclists converge on Sturgis, South Dakota. There are campgrounds that have 20,000 people in them at Sturgis.
Okay. A little too packed for my, I don't do crowds well, so Godspeed.
Thank you. But yes, we'd love to welcome anybody to the Detroit location.
Yeah, no, I think that's
cheeseburger together, or a veggie burger if that's folks' preference. There's a lot of good food around.
Oh no, I mean, when I grew up, Greektown was the place to be. Some of the best food you've ever had in your life. Like when I left Detroit and tried to get Greek food, huge disappointment. Not. It's just not the same. It's just not. I'll just leave it at that. But on that, Ernest, thank you so much for your time today. I love what you're doing. Obviously, we've been friends 3+ years. I can't even keep track. Please keep us updated. Please let us know what more is going on. As you have debuts, you let us know. We'll do this as many times as you like.
We sure will. Thanks again, Wendy. Hope you have a great week.
Thank you. You too, guys. So, guys, thank you so much. I'm Wendy Nystrom, your host with Environmental Social Justice. Thank you again, Ernest and Shandoka Cycles. Go check them out in Detroit, my hometown. And we are also proudly sponsored by BioLargo. They make life better. So please check them out as well. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.